I think this is something that has really helped me better understand myself. And furthermore, this is really going to lead you down a rabbit hole. But I want to start by just sharing a little bit about what this means. And we have been taught that if that person does not believe in exactly what you believe in, they are wrong. You are signaling to the universe that whatever it is that you're seeing, you are not one with.
What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for joining me on another episode for Walking Manifestator. I'm your host, Alexa Pena, and in today's podcast, I want to talk to you guys about something that I recently learned about, and I'm really excited to share it because I didn't always see life the way that I see it now, but I always felt like there was something deeper that we really didn't understand. And as I have really embarked on a quest of just better understanding myself, better understanding why we react the way that we do, overall just trying to get a better sense of knowing yourself, I have learned that I'm not the only weirdo out there, and actually there's a bunch of old ancient teachings that have been around for centuries that have been just right underneath our nose, but as they often say, right, asking you shall receive, and if you're not asking, then you will never receive. So this episode is going to be geared around practicing gratitude. And as we talk about this, I want to share with you some key insights for you to practice this even through the turbulence in your life, right? Even through the moments where you feel like there is nothing to be thankful for. But more so, I want to share with you a perspective that I have learned to embrace, and I am telling you, it is a constant awareness. It is not something that just happens once and all of a sudden you are this, perfect being. I don't believe there is such a thing. I do believe that as long as you're human and as long as you are living here in this three-dimensional reality, you are going to experience, you're human. That is what you're here for. However, there's ways to embrace it and become a better student in order for you to be a better teacher for those that maybe are around you that you can influence in a positive way. So I recently came across the Gospel of the Essenes, and if you, like me, do not know how to spell that out, I had to literally go through all these hoops to make sure I was spelling it right. It is going to be Essene. Okay, so the Essene Gospel of Peace for the Book of 1. And this is really going to lead you down a rabbit hole, but I want to start by just sharing a little bit about what this means, and then we can dive deep into what we're going to talk about, being gratitude and how to really implement this in your life. So I'm going to read you the Essene Gospel of Peace is an ancient manuscript found in the Vatican Library. It is a wonderful document of Jesus' teachings about how to live in harmony with the laws of nature. So I want to also add a quick disclaimer, okay? I think that we are so consumed by this religion battle that has been going on for years and years and years that makes people have arguments over you are wrong and you are going to burn in the deepest abyss of, possible to be known. And people that just believe they are living in highest vibrations. And I think that either of these two are very dangerous, because the moment that you are actually judging others based off what their belief system is, based off what you see or perceive as wrong or right, you are coming from a place of judgment. And the moment you do this, you are not really practicing this religion, right, that you claim to be practicing to be connected to creator, to source, to one. And I just want to throw that out there because I believe that coming from the background that I've come from, my grandparents, they are Catholic. So they raised me in a household where it was all about prayer and, just trying to teach me as much as my grandmother knew about what she has learned through her, years. And then I went very far right to not believing in anything. I was kind of like done with the world. I was done with all these different approaches, right? And I don't know where you're at in your journey, but maybe you're on one of these far extremes. Maybe you're very much listening to all the teachings that your family has essentially, made you conditioned to, right? And has imposed on you. Or maybe you're far right and you're like completely done with whatever it is that your family grew up telling you. And I think there is a balance here. It's the yin and the yang, right? There has to be a certain level of balance. And I think that is where that healthy state of mind comes from. That is where that overall awareness is going to help you to really deconstruct what are the things that are serving you and what are the things that are not serving you. And this is something where like your own moral compass is really going to play a factor, because I know that I have heard and witnessed very horrendous things in both sides of the spectrum. And when it comes down to how we have been raised, depending on your background, of course, we have been taught that if that person does not believe in exactly what you believe in, they are wrong and you are right. And I just want to invite you to have a different perspective. Just listen and take in whatever is meant to serve you, and what is not, just disregard and move on. I think this is something that has really helped me better understand myself, and furthermore, allow myself to really understand different people's perspectives and not just believe that my way is the only way. So with that being said, this gospel is something that I really want to invite you to dive deep. I have recently started reading it, but it was really funny to me because when you have like something that you want to express to somebody, but you don't know how to express it, and you just kind of wish you could express it like in a telepathic way because you feel a certain way about it, but you don't know how to put it into words. Well, that was me when I was reading more about this. I was like, oh my gosh, like they're literally talking about the things that I have been thinking in my head for the past like 5 years now, and they articulate it so beautiful to the point where you start realizing that religion doesn't have to be this like, I need to go to church in order for me to worship God. God is within me. And whenever I would say that to people, they would look at me like I was crazy. And then I started realizing there was more people that actually believed in what I believe in. And this is going to go hand in hand with the gratitude aspect of this podcast. Okay. So when we're talking about the laws of the universe, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, and on our next podcast, we're going to talk about the law of one. But the law of one really is going to resonate and tie into your gratitude, being that if you can start practicing the fact that everything you're going through is simply that, it is something you are going through. We've often heard that saying that says, it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. And I think that when I would hear that when I was younger, it was such a trigger warning for me, because I was like, how are you going to tell me that X, Y, and Z is happening for me? Like, there is nothing that I can learn from this situation, right? But as you actually encounter the situation and you go through the situation, if you allow yourself the grace to learn something from it, you actually came out stronger in the end. Now, I will say that I personally know that in some situations, it's very easy to get consumed and believe that there was nothing useful out of that situation. But that is where the ego comes into play. I want to invite you to gain the awareness that the ego is either going to become your worst enemy or it can be your best friend. And I think a lot of people, especially in the spiritual world, they talk about the ego being something that is just, you want to destroy it and you want to completely, overcome the ego. But I think there's a balance, as we talked about. There's a balance because the ego does allow us to grow and have that drive that, hey, I see what they're doing. How can I learn more, right? So whenever I'm like, listening to a podcast recently. I found Andre DeQuam. If you guys have not listened to his podcast, I highly recommend it. He has amazing people. I found him because he had one of my favorite idols, Dr. Joe Dispenza, on his podcast, and it's called Know Thyself. And he really talks about all these different perspectives. And when you are listening to this and you're in the spiritual process of just learning and emerging yourself, the ego can play a huge factor, and you just start thinking like, man, like there's so much you still don't know, really? And in that moment, you have to catch it, whatever it is, right? Man, that girl has this body and you don't have this. Man, that guy has all this and you don't have it. Your ego is very quick to make you feel in a lack mindset. But in the end, it is up to you what it is that you are doing with the knowledge that you have the opportunity to embrace. So in that moment, when the ego is peeking through, we have the opportunity to practice gratitude. The ego is playing in awareness to a certain level. Okay, this is how I like to see it. I like to see life as this video game. And as I've immersed myself in more and more knowledge of just spiritual awakenings, for the best way to describe this, I have learned that in the end, everything we are going through is actually allowing us to essentially have a better understanding of things that are going to allow ourselves to actually see the opportunity in that moment to be something that we can actually grow from. However, in the spiritual awakening journey, you are going to oftentimes see that there is a lot of moments of contrast in order for you to see if you're really learning from the situation or if it is simply something that you have to, in that moment, maybe go through again. So I'm going to give you an example right now. Let's say you are in a situation where you are constantly experiencing lack. Okay, we'll use money as a metric in this example. If you are constantly experiencing lack, and whenever you go on social media, and I think that this is something that can happen to any of us if we're not careful about it. You can get on social media and maybe your bank account is at a certain point and you are seeing people that are just living very, very abundant lifestyles. It's very easy for you to get in this state of, man, I wish I could have this. Man, I wish I could do these things for my family. I wish I could X, Y, and Z. And that right there in that moment, you are signaling to the universe that whatever it is that you're seeing, you are not one with. You are practicing lack. Therefore, gratitude is the one antidote that you can actually implement, being, I am so thankful for the fact that I have the opportunity to see that I have potential to grow. So whenever I see spiritual teachers that are doing amazing things and I hear the little ego saying like, man, your podcast is barely here. Like, what are you doing? I catch it and I tell myself, you know what? This is part of the journey. This is part of the beautiful process that I am at one point in my life, I'm going to look back at and say, remember everything that you put into that. Remember when you would sit in your office making your episodes, and now you have your entire team helping you put together your episodes. There's so many different approaches that you can take to this. That's just one very brief example. But I think that this is where the gratitude aspect really comes into place, because if you can practice becoming aware versus getting consumed in your thoughts, that will help you break free from that pattern that you are constantly putting yourself in. And I think that especially in today's day and age, especially mindlessly scrolling through social media will do that to you. If you are just going through social media and seeing everybody's post and not becoming aware of what information you're taking in, and you're simply allowing your awareness to drift off and you are becoming part of your avatar and you don't practice the whole concept of this is simply a game, and this is where I was kind of going to connect the 2 points. I like to see life as a game. I like to see it as a game where you are here to essentially grow, and it's like we were sent here. You forgot everything that you knew from divine oneness, and you are here trying to recreate and reconnect and find that true purpose that we have within us. And I'm going to read something that I found very interesting from that gospel that I was talking to you about earlier. And it says here, okay, so just bear with me. It's very brief, but it's very important for you to at least listen to this if you don't go and do your own deep dive, okay? So it talks here about, and then many sick and maimed came to Jesus, asking, if you know all things, tell us, why do we suffer these grievous plagues? Why are we not whole like other men? Master, heal us, that we too may be made strong and need aid no longer in our misery. We know that you have it in your power to heal all manner of disease. Free us from Satan and from all his great afflictions, Master. Have compassion on us. And Jesus answered, happy are you that your hunger for the truth, for I will satisfy you with the bread of wisdom. Happy are you that you knock, for I will open the door of life. Happy are you that you would cast off the power of Satan, for I will lead you into the kingdom of our mother's angel, where the power of Satan cannot enter. And they asked him in amazement, who is our mother? And which her angels, and where is her kingdom? He replied, your mother is in you, and you in her. She bore you, she gives you life. So that goes on to this whole other paragraph, but I want to just dissect that really quick. They're asking him for wholeness, right? They're saying like, hey, why are we having this plague? Like, hey, why are we going through this situation? Why is this happening to us? Like, you are the all-knowing. You are the one that has the power to heal us. Like, can you shed some grace on us? Can you please free us from this? And he's asking them, like, do you really want this? Okay, well, this is already within you. And this is where gratitude comes into play. This is where the law of one comes into play. And we talk about this in one of my courses where I talk a lot about manifestation and how I believe that a lot of people have made manifestation some just completely far right thing where if you practice religion, if you're talking about manifestations, it's witchcraft and it's this whole other crazy thing. But in reality, it goes hand in hand with what Jesus, with Buddha, with a bunch of teachings from ancient scriptures that have talked about the fact that you have the power within you to create anything you desire. Your mindset becomes your reality. Your personality is attracting this reality of yours. And I think this is something very important that allows you to go into my second point, which is understanding versus forgiving. So going from I forgive you to I understand you is a huge stepping stone in your growth. And I'm going to share with you something very simple. If my child does something to me, and fill in the blank, right? If your brother does this to you, if your sister does this to you, if somebody that you know doesn't have the full level of comprehension that maybe you do, okay? But I will use my son as an example. If he did something to me, he's 3, and let's say he threw, I don't know, a ball at my face. I know many parents would sit there and be like, you better smack him. That is not going to happen in my household. And don't get me wrong. This is my second child. So my first child, I definitely would have reacted a lot differently than my second child. But this is why I say that we're supposed to learn. We live and we learn. But if that were to happen with my child now, I become this person that becomes aware. Don't get me wrong. It will definitely get me upset because it hurt. But I can't go from I forgive you, I go to I understand why he did it. Got excited, he threw the ball. He didn't mean to actually hit me. He was trying to throw it at my hands, but his aim is not the best. So he hit me in my eye. And you know what? It's fine. I'm okay. I'm alive. Let's move on. This is what I want to invite you to start practicing in your life. Going from I forgive you. Yeah, I forgive you. But you're deep down still holding a grudge on that person versus I understand why they did what they did. I understand why that person cheated on me. Is it justified? No, and I'm not going to condone that, and I'm not going to stay with that person. However, I do understand that the level of comprehension that they have and the love that they have toward themselves allow them to treat me with this level of love. And it essentially made this person treat me less because they themselves don't care about themselves as much as I actually see them in this light of. And this goes into this whole perspective of understanding the path that each and every single one of us has gone through. I don't know everything you've been through. I don't know every single situation you've encountered. You don't know every situation I've encountered. And when we go toward that place of ego and judgment and lack and essentially making somebody else wrong, we are lowering our vibration. And the best thing that you can do for your gratitude is allowing yourself to really embrace, I understand why you did what you did. And this is something extremely powerful that even Neil Donald Walsh talks about in his Conversations with God book. And it's really interesting to see that the more and more people that are living these like very coherent lives, these very abundant lifestyles, and I'm not just talking about monetary, I'm talking about actually fulfilled in life. Like you see them and they have this shine, this glow, this energy within them that you're like, wow, like that makes a lot of sense. That person is living a life that they're not perfect, right? They're still human, but they're recognizing when they fall and they're making sure that they get back up and they're making sure that they become aware of it and they completely steer clear from allowing them to go into that lack mentality. And if you can practice this, I am telling you, it's going to make such a difference in your life. And number 3 is really practicing what we mentioned, which is everything is a lesson in life. Everything that you're going through right now is simply that. It is something you're going through. It is simply an experience. It is simply a moment in life. And you are a spiritual being having a physical experience in this human body. You are not your body. You are the essence within your body. You are that energy within your body. And I know that when I would hear that, I was like, what in the world is this person talking about? But just think about it. You're not your thoughts. You're the awareness above your thoughts. And this is why I say that whole avatar mindset is very important, because the moment you become the avatar, you're consumed by everything that's happening. But the moment you become aware of your surroundings, by becoming aware that you're not your thoughts, that you are the awareness above your thoughts, you break free from that illusion. With that being said, I hope today's episode was helpful. If you have any comments, please make sure to share them with us. And as always, remember to embrace your uniqueness. Make sure that you are embodying that walking manifestator that you are. Until the next one.